My name is Orlandina Vallon, and I am the Fertile Woman. I'm an educator, motivator, professional bodybuilder. I am the People's Health Coach, here to help you to become your best selves. And this is Muscles and Stilettos.
I am Wonder Woman, a wonder of a woman, a creature so fearfully and wonderfully made that even my creator had to sit back and say, "Ooh, man, an amazing Amazon, protector to all. Hell hath not the fury that I can unleash, should I or my loved ones be scorned. Mother Earth, potential ideas, birthing those ready to be born and those ready to be reborn.
Hey, Fit Fam, it's your girl, Orlandina Vallon, and I am the Fertile Woman. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Muscles and Stilettos. Today, we're going to talking about loving you through the hurt and knowing that when we are being loved and sometimes being hurt, sometimes that is when we find our greatest self. Today on our show, we have with us a very special guest, Samantha Lawson, aka Sam Law. She's the founder of Young Hip Professionals Incorporated. She's also the chair of the Diversity and Inclusion at Melbourne Chamber of Commerce. She's a TEDx speaker, event curator, published model, marketing professional, and community advocate. Sam has a Master of Science in Mental Health Counseling from LIU, CW Post, and a Bachelor's of Art in Psychology from SUNY Old Westbury. Her organization, Young Hip Professionals, is a 501c3 charity with a mission to enhance the lives of rising generation in at-risk communities through the powers of networking and entrepreneurship. She is a millennial with a mission. Her social and community advocacy has a strong focus on diversity and inclusion in the workplace, criminal justice reform, and affordable housing. In 2020, Sam was given the Rising Star Award for her community service in Suffolk County 15th Legislative District by her county legislator, Jason Richburg. Sam wants to be a part of building Long Island into a fair and equitable place for all residents. What an accomplished woman, and I'm so glad to have her here. Welcome to our show, Sam.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. And just saying all these wonderful things about you, I'm just like, my mouth is just like full. I love it.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, but it's a beautiful thing to say all of these amazing things about you. And
Thank you.
for someone who is as young as you are, and to say that I am planning, this is my goal to affect change in my community.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful thing. You know, a lot of times people are just, especially now, people are in selfish mode. And for you to come out of that and you just say, no, that's not what I'm about. I'm about my community. So tell us a little bit about you, Sam. And how did you come to be this big community advocate? What inspired you to birth Young Hip Professionals?
You know, it was the idea that I came up with sitting on the sofa. I said to myself, I want to do something that is going to be meaningful. And I want to, I don't even know how to put it in words. I wanted to create a social movement. And when I said it like 4 years ago, I had no idea that this is what it was going to become when I said it. But when I did start modeling, my agent was like, wow, you're so young, you're so hip, you're so professional. And I was like, oh, it's a thing. So I was like, oh yeah, so this is God engineering. I need to run with this. And I did. I just started, and it's evolved a lot. It's become bigger than I ever thought it would be. And I'm blessed. I'm grateful to God. I'm grateful to Jesus Christ. I'm grateful to my ancestors. I'm grateful. And I'm grateful most importantly to the community for supporting me and realizing that I'm authentic and this is my real heart.
And it shows. I've seen so many of the activities that you created last summer, not this past summer, but the summer before last. You had this amazing basketball tournament for the community. So tell us a little bit more about that. Is it coming back?
So I was supposed to have an amazing basketball tournament for the community. That's actually how we became a 501c3. So we were told that we couldn't do it unless we became a 501c3. So we did. We became a 501c3. So this summer will be the inaugural summer for it. We're going to get it off the ground. We're going to start. And hopefully it leads to something long term. I would like to keep it going. You know, one thing I was able to do was assist in stopping the name change of Wine Dance Park.
Mm.
So,
Oh, that's
so
big. That's
yeah,
big.
they were trying to change the name on us, and I was like, nah. And a lot of people agreed. So we were able to stop that from happening while still paying homage to the person they wanted to honor. So um, hopefully this summer, God willing, with COVID and everything interrupting life over the last year, that this summer we'll be able to get it off the ground, get it moving, and it's a long lasting endeavor.
And I believe that it will be. I can already seeing it being an annual event in Wine
Hey,
Dance. And,
we'll call it into life.
listen, if you need any assistance, you need us. The Fitter Woman is there. We are here to
Thank
support you.
you. Thank
Um,
you.
this year has been an incredible year for you, and this year you've been through a series of growing pains, and it has not broken you. It's actually made you stronger. Tell us your story, because I think a lot of women can relate to this story.
So this year I went through a very intense breakup. I dealt with domestic violence. It is nothing anyone wants to deal with. And it's painful. It alters your confidence. It alters your self-esteem. It alters your brain. I just don't think there's any way around saying that. It alters your brain. It alters who you are at your core. And to be honest, I don't really know if there was a set way that I got through it, but I think it was God's grace that I got through it. And it was God's grace that I never stopped doing what I needed to do for my community, because it could have broken me. I even this on this very day last year was actually when I said enough was enough and I'm not going to continue to go through this. This was my first, this is it. Um and I
So let me ask you this. You said something interesting. You said this is an experience that alters you and it changes you. So who was Sam Law before this experience? Who was she before that? If you had to use one word to describe the woman that she was prior to this, who would you say she was?
I would say she was a dreamer. Definitely a dreamer.
She was a dreamer. And in what way?
I think I've always had like big dreams. I was always that kid that was imagining what I would do next. I was like Doug. I don't know if anyone saw the cartoon Doug as a kid, but he would like draw out what he thought his life was going to look like for the week or the day or in the future. And I was like that. I was very much like that. I didn't draw it out, but I was very imaginative, and I've always had big dreams for myself. I think that going through what I went through took that away, and I became less of a dreamer, and it doused my vision. I would have to say that.
See, and it's interesting because you're saying that it took that out, but yet you found some way to start to tap back into it again. And you'll all hear this as she really shares this. What were your relationships like prior to this one? Were they similar? Were they very different? Like, how did this dreamer land and find herself in this particular situation?
I definitely see some similarities in what I was attracted to. For sure. Like I was attracted to guys that were confident, but my biggest mistake was that I mistook confidence and cockiness. They're totally different things. When someone's cocky, there's a level of insecurity that underlies that. Whereas when they're confident, that they might have insecurities, but it's not fueling this facade that they're putting onto the world. And sometimes I couldn't discern the difference. So I think that's a lot of relationships that I had before entertained men who were like that, but none had been on this level of violence. Like there's no other word for it. None had been like that.
One, and this is why I wanted to invite you onto the show. One day on Facebook, you released a video. It was about 30 minutes, and you spoke your heart. Actually, what I saw was the post that you made after that. and you said this was the first Valentine's in 6 years where you had no trepidation. No, this was the first time you can enjoy Valentine's Day in at peace. And that just struck me because I didn't know your story. And so when I read it and I saw the video, I was just like, she was going through all of this. I mean, we were at a networking event, prior to COVID. And I was like, this young woman was going through all of this. And you just were just shining and bright and just cheery and as beautiful as you can be. And I said, she went through this. And I said, I have to speak to her. I have to share her story because she is not the only one that has been through this. And you share this story. You're so open about it, so raw. And a lot of people are afraid because that creates such a shame or a stigma. And so when I reached out to you and I said, well, how long were you in this? You're like, I was in it for 6 years. And so I want to pick up, not that I don't want to talk about the experience. And folks, you can go to her Facebook page. She is so just open about what she went through. So you can see the timeline. But today she really wanted to focus on the now what. She wanted, Sam wanted to focus on the day that she said enough is enough and the steps that she took from there, which I think a lot of times is overshadowed by the story of being in it. And so today this was your goal. So this happens. This is going on for 6 years. It's increasing in levels of intensity. And you get to one day and you're like, enough is enough. Describe that day and tell us, what did you do to begin taking the steps out of this pain?
For me, I had just given it to. It's funny. I like that you brought up what it was like when you met me. So yeah, a lot of times when people see me, they see. I feel like sometimes they see two different people, but they'll see like either someone who's kind of quiet and observant, or they'll see like this outgoing. I think most people see the outgoing, social, bubbly, like like, hi, I'm Sam, come be my friend. Like I think that's mostly what people see. So yeah, I'm very much like, hi, I'm Sam, come be my friend. That's who I am at my core. My mother will tell you I was that girl at the playground. Like, hi, come play with me. I don't know you, but I'm Sammy, come play with me, And that's the kind of energy you want to have when you give a TED talk or when you're at a modeling gig or you're running a networking event or you're hosting an online show, whatever it is. You want to bring this positive energy. You want to be a light. You want to be, you want to attract people with positivity like a magnet. And I started to realize that the longer this was going on, the less positivity I had and the more darkness that was filling my spirit, more anger, more hate, more just negative thoughts about myself, negative thoughts about the world, negative thoughts about God and my spirituality, and I was angry. I was like, well, God, everyone thinks I'm this girl, but when I go home, I'm mad. I feel like I'm in a cage. I feel like I'm screaming. I want to get out, and I can't figure it out. I can't get out. How do I get out? Because how am I going to be the woman that you called me to be if I'm in this situation and I'm not operating in the flow of my full potential? And how am I going to impact others because I'm not being my authentic self? Yeah, there's authenticity into that friendliness, but I wasn't happy. Now imagine if a joyful person had approached you, and joy, happiness is a conditional state. It comes and goes, but joy is everlasting. That's who you are at your core. And I wanted to have joy. I realized that some days I would be happy, some days I would be sad. But when you're healthy in mind and you're healthy in spirit, joy flows through you and you can give it to people. You can infuse it into others like with a touch or with the right word, and I wanted to be that light. And I started to realize that my light was going out. It was dimming and it was dimming and it was dimming. A few days after I gave a TED talk, he did an amazing event for his business, which I helped him prepare. We had our two very big events on the same day, so we couldn't be there for each other, even though I made sure I was there for him at the end just to show my face, just to congratulate him, whatever, and I helped him prepare for it. I didn't have his help in preparation. It was everybody else helping me to prepare for my TED talk. A few days later, He's angry. I had just had surgery too a week before my TED Talk. So a few days later, he's yelling at me, screaming at me over something very silly, over there not being soap in the house. And it got to the level of violence. And then I have to call the cops. And for me, it was like, this is the last time, because I want more opportunities to give speeches. I want more opportunities to impact people. I want more opportunities to be the best version of myself. And if I feel like how I feel right now, in a moment where I should be glowing, I should be proud, I'm never going to get to the next level. And I'm not going to be able to take others. We're not going to be able to cross that sea. We're not going to be able to get over that bridge. I want to get over that bridge with people. I want to be there on the other side. I want to walk with them to the other side and then go back and get more people. So for me,
you did it. Not only did you wanted to stop altering yourself. This situation was altering you, but also it was altering the future that you as a child had envisioned for yourself, that you as little Dougie had this picture, and this thing's just altering everything, and you had to bring it to a stop.
Yes.
What was your first step? What was your first step? And what were you feeling? Were you scared? Were you like, I got this? Like, what were you feeling when you had to make that first step?
When I made that phone call, I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. We were in this pandemic thing. There was news in the background, and it hadn't really hit. It had just hit America. It had just hit New York. There was news in the background of what was going on. It hadn't hit Long Island yet. So I didn't press charges that day. But that was definitely the first day. I was like, enough is enough. And things got quiet, or as domestic violence cases rose in New York and all over. Things between him and I got quiet, and I just kept trying to keep the peace. I was supposed to start a new job. That didn't start, but thank God I'm getting ready to start it this April.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
That didn't start. So that kind of kept me from going to the next step. And it was just little hindrances along the way. What kept me was that I knew I wasn't alone. I knew I wasn't the only man or woman going through this scenario, child or whoever, that there were other people, because I was hearing about it on the news, like domestic violence, family violence, all these things were on the rise. But I was like, all right, but I'm still standing, so how long am I going to stand for? The final, I want to say the third, because there's a lot of exits. Like most people think like, oh, it's just one day you've had enough. No, there's about 7 exits before you finally say enough is enough. And I think if you look at, if you ever look at the cycle of change, there's like the pre-contemplative stage where you're not really thinking about it. And then there's the contemplation stage, and then there's the action stage. So this was my contemplation stage. The next step was we got into an argument over me running for school board. Everybody's like, Sam, we want you to run for school board. We want you to run for school board. And he was like, oh, we're not doing that. And I'm like, what? So I had enough, and I left and went to a hotel. And while I was in that hotel, that's when I had my encounters with God. That's when I had my encounters, with the spirit world, where I'm like, I need I can't just operate on a terrestrial plane. I need to operate from a spiritual plane. Like, God, I need intervention. And that's when I started to reach out to, different people. I had people on the governmental level helping me, and I'm telling them, because they couldn't believe it. Not only that, people couldn't believe what I was going through. They're like, but Sam, you're normally like this. And I was like, well, all those moments where you thought I was like kind of being a bee, like you didn't think I was the nicest girl, or you thought I was a little closed off, or you thought, Sam's great, but she's kind of cold. Those moments are a reflection of the hurt that I was enduring. If the person I'm laying next to at night is treating me like garbage, I don't even know you, so I'm just going to assume you're going to treat me like trash too. So, when they starting to put everything together and the pieces together, it became like, all right, we got to wrap around her. We got to protect her. We got to figure out how to get her out of this mess. And then my spiritual advisors, them praying me through things and fasting with me. I was in a hotel for like a month. And that was the time where I feel like I was building my strength. I was building my muscles. Like, you're fit. You are fit. All that work that you had to put in, I had to put in spiritual work, to really break free, to break the chains, to break the oppressive state that I was in. Because when you're a victim, it is oppression. It is just like slavery, just like anything else. You are being oppressed.
That's right.
And it's not easy to break the yokes of that. It's not easy to break those chains. So I had to go through a spiritual transformation to break those chains. And I had to, like my shirt said, I had to remember my shirt says, remember who you are. It's from the Lion King. I had to remember who I was. I had to remember that I was a queen, and that I was royalty, and that God didn't want me to be treated this way. He didn't create me to be treated this way. And that's what pushed me to say, all right, as soon as the next opportunity comes where this person does anything to me, because of course he apologized. Of course it was, another moment of weakness. Take me back. I love you. I want to fix it. I want to do right by you. So I said, okay. I go back and boom. And I say, and it was in those prayer moments in that hotel where I said, if he ever does it again, it's a wrap. And that time it was a wrap, and I have not looked back.
Amen. You know what? It's when you talk about having to go within and having to strengthen yourself on a spiritual level. Um, as you said, I'm fit physically, strong, yes. But I always talk about how strength is not just the physical strength. We are made in three parts: body, mind, and spirit. So you had to, it's almost like, when Superman has to go away into his little his what was it called again?
His what is it?
It's like his little sanctuary.
It's
Oh my
his
God,
cave.
getting the name right.
Yeah.
But he had to go away and move away from people so he can his solitude, his palace of
Yes.
solitude.
Fortress of Solitude.
Fortress of Solitude. There you go. Fortress of Solitude. He had
I'm a
to
nerd,
go
y'all.
away. That was it. Like that's a Fortress of Solitude, to go back and find out who he was. Like you said, you had to remind yourself and find out who you were before you can step in. And now you had that strength. You found that strength within you, and you described having people around you, having your spiritual advisors, having that circle. So, what why was it important, or why would it be important for any woman going through this right now? Because one of the things that I would say, I'm looking at you, I would say, well, why would you allow something like that to happen? You seem very strong, you seem very independent. How could that happen to you? What would you say to someone when they say that? Well, you know, you, what would you say to that? Because there's a lot of women who are hearing things like that. You really?
I think that we're targeted. I think that women like that, the one you described, that's very strong, very outgoing, very ambitious. I think that we're targeted by certain types of men and women. You don't know what someone's sexual preference is. I think that
Absolutely.
there are people out there that realize that you're a hard worker, you can stand on your own. And you will stand on your own. You've shown time and time again that you do. They've seen that. Social media has made it so people can
Yeah.
know who you are, have an idea about you before they even really get to know you. With my ex, I already kind of personally knew him. To be honest with you, I was the one that had a crush on him. So that helped the situation become what it became, because
Right.
my heart was already very open to him,
Okay.
and
Mhm.
willing to try and willing to go the extra mile and willing to put in the effort. And then he bonded with my family, he bonded with my friends. And to be honest with you, when it came down to business and work, we were like this. We
Wow.
were synergistic. So he fed that part of me. It was the other parts, it was the innermost parts, the parts that make me a woman, the parts that make me confident, the parts that make me feel beautiful, the parts that make me feel whole. Those were the things that he attacked. I think that he knew that, no matter what was going on, even if he couldn't carry his part of the load, his part of the weight, that I would carry it, and I would get whatever was needed done. And in that way, he took advantage of that in a lot of ways. And if you are a strong woman, there are people out there, that look for that. There was an article I just read. Was it Forbes? I feel like it was Forbes. It might not have been, but it was an article I just read literally about that, about why is it seem like, these powerful women attract very codependent, or men that take advantage of them. And
Mm.
a lot of it had to do with the fact that they can see that we will succeed, and that we work hard, and we put all of our energy into the things we care about, and that would include them, so
Wow.
they don't have to do as much.
That is so insightful. I would never even think of something like that, because you always think of, it's the person that's, soft spoken. It's the woman that is, she tends to be a little bit more just she goes with the flow, that would be the person. But when you say target, it's almost like the person's, it's like prey. Their predatory instincts are like, I'm gonna come after that one.
Apex predators.
Apex predators. Alpha male going for the alpha female. Let me come for you.
They look like they're alpha males, but they're alpha. Someone called it alpha betas. They're not exactly alpha males.
You're right.
They could be with the right foundation. They could be alpha males, but they're not quite alpha males, because if you're an alpha male, you don't have to take advantage of someone or abuse someone or be hurtful to someone to get what you need.
Absolutely.
That's mentally weak.
It is because now you're preying and feeding off of you're a coward at that point, and you're feeding off of someone's fear, because it's not like you're inspiring and lifting the other person. You're looking for that fear in their eyes, because that's what excites you, or gets you, that's what you're looking for.
And so, with my Mr. X, his biggest thing was exposing I guess he felt like I had this very carefully crafted image or public persona. And whenever he would resort to being hurtful, it was always about destroying that. It was always about destroying my reputation or destroying my image. So I was like, why would you come for that of all the things you could come for? Because he felt like if he destroyed me in the public eye, I wouldn't be able to recoup from that. So that was one of his biggest attack modes, was trying to destroy my character.
So now when you're looking back at this and you're seeing things like that, like these little attacks, now they're not little, these just attacking your character, threatening to besmirch your character in front of the public eye, just
show me naked on social media.
You were explaining that I'm threatening to show you in the nude naked on social media. And so now when you look back at these things, were there signs that you overlooked? And if so, because hindsight is 20/20. When you're in it, you don't see it. But looking back, what were the signs that you saw?
Oh man, there's so many.
If you were to say your top 3, because you did mention cockiness. You thought
definitely that
confidence, but it was cockiness. So learning to distinguish the two. What would be the other top 2?
For the other one was he never thought to create a relationship between myself and his family. And I think it was not important, and it was something that we fought over. He had a wonderful relationship with my family, but he didn't really ever put any effort into creating a relationship between myself and his. And I think that was because he didn't want certain things exposed about his true nature. So that was definitely number 2. That secrecy, that distance, that was definitely number 2. Number 3 was finances. There was a lot of things that were either he would lie about them, or he just never tried to achieve on the level that he could, because he's an extremely capable man, very intelligent, very smart, very charming. But it was just always like operating at this like low level of vibration when it came to finances, and overly relying on me. I paid for trips. I paid for clothes. I paid all the other bills. He paid the rent. I paid all the other bills. It was just never like, and he didn't really buy me anything or give me any gifts, or not that that's the most important thing, but I'm paying for us to go out of the country to different Italy, Jamaica, Vegas. Like, it was, I never had the favor returned. Those were huge red flags, I would say. Those were huge. Finances. And the last one was we didn't, we lived together. We didn't have a sexual relationship. Sex was definitely used as a mechanism of control.
Wow. So when you're seeing these things and looking at these clues now, and you're now putting out there for any other woman who may be in a relationship that is beginning to show these signs, name 3 things you did as you were coming out of this relationship? You said you reached out to government agencies, you reached out to your family, your tribe, your people. What government agencies did you feel were the most helpful when it came to coming out of this and making up? Because you weren't working at the time. So money is not coming in. You're draining your finances. So what organization did you contact?
Long Island Against Domestic Violence. Wow. Absolutely critical I knew about. So I have my master's in mental health. I was very, very much acquainted with them. So, one of the things you mentioned before was, being the activation of mind, body, and spirit. So on the mind level, I didn't even bring that up. For my mind, honestly, it was getting my master's degree. I was going through this while I was getting my master's, and having knowing that this company existed, Long Island Against Domestic Violence, knowing what they did, having seen a couple of times where a person spoke and hearing like how they help their victims get out. I also had LIADV interns in my program at school. So we would talk about like the process that they took to get their victims out. I had all those skills, and I'm technically a therapist. I don't work in that field, but that was critical. So that was the mind part. I didn't talk about the activation. And then knowing what they were going to do to help me when I needed their help, and then finally calling on them and saying, hey, I need help. And they hopped right to it. It was no hesitation. It was like, I said, I need help. Within 10 minutes, the help started.
Wow.
That's when you're in a situation, you don't want to call back the next day. You don't want to wait a week. You don't want to hear, we don't have any of this. We don't have any of that. When I needed help, within 10 minutes, I got the help that I needed. I almost couldn't believe that it happened so fast. I was like, but wait, is there more? And they've been there for me through the whole process, and I'm grateful for it. So definitely Long Island Against Domestic Violence.
And it's good that you're putting it out there, because they understand this is being a woman in a domestic, not even just women, anybody in a domestic violence situation, man, woman, because it can happen to anyone. It can happen to any type of couple, heterosexual, homosexual, whatever. It happens. And these are things that are existing. As you said, during the pandemic, everybody's closed up in the house together. These instances were growing. So to know that you have this type of resources and resources similar, or if not just like Long Island Against Domestic Violence, to know that it's out there and that help is just a phone call away, and they are ready to help you to get moving. So we're going to have that number up for everybody, along with Sam's information at the end of the episode. You'll be able to reach out to her and get to hear and learn more about her story. So now that you are on the other side, not to say you're completely healed and completely over it, because I know this is a journey. What would you say? What are you doing now to begin the healing process? Because it is a very traumatic. You hear people suffering from PTSD after this, because it's constant pressure and stress. What are you doing to begin healing yourself?
You definitely suffer from PTSD after. I have dreams where I feel like he's coming through the door and we're fighting and arguing. I've had those dreams several times. And, I wake up like, oh my God, did I put the bolt on the door? That's not exactly how anyone wants to feel when it's over, but it is how you're going to feel. I'm not going to sugarcoat to even lie to you. Yeah. I haven't cried a lot. I was already kind of out of the door for a long time. So I haven't had a lot of moments of tears, but you might. And one of the things I will say is, when you have those moments of tears, cry. You're grieving. You're going through a loss. And even if it was a loss where we're getting hurt in a situation, it's still a loss. You probably still love that person. You probably still care for that person, but that person can't be in your world. They can't be in your life. They can't be in your orbit. They can't be in your trajectory. They can't be in your air. I'm a Gemini, so I'm an air sign. Air. I'm all about air. You can't be in my air.
I got two Geminis in my life. Woo,
so you know.
Oh my gosh.
Gemini. You can't be in my air, because that's what my personality is at its nature is air. So, you have to realize that it's a door that must close. Maybe some people might be able to close the door and move on and be at peace. You might have to go through a battle. With me and my ex, we were together a long time. If you recognize signs, and this is one of the biggest things, and I say this to my friends, I say this to anybody who will ask me, if you see signs and you're in it early, my biggest suggestion is to get out. Like, you seen the movie Get Out? You remember that scene when Lakeith Stanfield says to Daniel Kaluuya, get out, get the F out?
Yes.
That's me. I'm him with the hat. Because underneath it, I got the scar to show, what I went through. And I'm telling you, get out, get out as fast as you can, run as fast as you can, because you will see years and years, and you will see time accumulate, and you'll look back and be like, whoa, where did all the time go? But here's the other aspect. Legally, there might be some things that you have to go through with one another. You'd be like, I didn't get married, but I'm going through a divorce. That's me right now. I didn't get married, but yet and still somehow I'm going through a form of divorce. And it's not easy. And I would, if I could be right there with you all the time to pull you out from the getting ready to jump into this pit, to avoid the pitfalls, I would be, but I can't. So this is my way of saying, get out as fast as you can. Figure it out. Get your plan of action. Call an agency. Call Long Island Against Domestic Violence. Call Brighter Tomorrows. Call the Safe Center. Call if this is not, these places aren't in your local area. Look up who is in your local area that helps people. If you know an elected official that knows somebody, call them. They're there for you. You voted them in place. Call them. Bring the alarm. Do what you got to do, because, man, the other side it's not easy either. But the other side is where your freedom is. Being free doesn't mean it's not going to come with trials and tribulations. It does, but it's where your freedom is. It's where the heaviness begins to lift. Yeah, you might have some bad dreams. Yeah, you might have some moments of tears. Yeah, you might even have a moment of weakness where you miss that person. But the freedom, like Orlandina said, when I celebrated Valentine's Day this year, and I didn't have to think about, oh, am I going to get into a fight with him? Are we even going to sleep together? Should I even buy lingerie? Should I even plan anything? It's probably going to be bad anyway. You know what? I'll just work the whole day and then I can avoid it. I'd rather be how I feel now than feel like that.
Right.
So, and the worst feeling is this going to lead to a fight where I end up dead?
And that stuck out to me a lot when you were like, you know what? I knew I had to leave because I was being hurt. My light was being dimmed. It was just traumatic. And then when you said, how do I know this is not going to be my last moment, meaning for me to lose my life or for him to lose his life because I'm trying to defend myself.
Jail.
That's exactly. And I know I've said it a time and time. I'm not built for prison. I know you don't want that. Why would you want to put yourself, you don't want to be in that situation where you end that person's life or that person ends your life. And as you said before, as you said in the beginning, this completely alters your life. It alters you as a person emotionally, spiritually, physically. It leaves scars or whatever the case may be, and it alters your future, this beautiful future that you've established for yourself. So to thank you for, just saying those words, like just get out, figure it out. There are people out there for you to help you. And we know it's not easy because there's that emotional attachment. What would you say was your biggest fear when you were stepping out? Because you hear a lot of women saying, I want to stop saying women because this is anybody. You hear when people have to step out of the situation, step out of this relationship, they have a fear. What was your fear?
Not having a place to live, not having resources. We were in the middle of a pandemic. An opportunity that would have helped me. I had 2 points where I had, an opportunity. I had gotten a job where I was making great money. Then I got injured and I had planned on leaving then. I got injured. Then I needed help, so that's made me lose a year. Then the pandemic came. Just before the pandemic came, I got an offer. I was like, all right, I'm about to get out. I had the money saved to get into a new apartment. I had I had the resources, I had the job to make sure that I could pay all the bills. And then the pandemic hit. And I was like, my God, that last time when I went to the hotel and I was like, well, whatever, anywhere but here. I walked during a time where people were scared to go anywhere. I went and stayed in a hotel, and it was like, I'd rather die having COVID than be here anymore. So for me, those fears kind of went out the window. Of course, they came back into play. But when I was ready to get out, I didn't care if I had money or not. I said, God will make a way. I don't know how he's going to make a way, but he's going to make a way. And God made a way.
That's right.
God made a way.
Having that faith is so, so important. And when you don't have it, having the people around you to help you restore your faith and knowing that, when you have that faith, it's not only just you sitting down in the corner. They say God helps those who helps themselves. You have to help yourself too. You got to start moving forward.
Right. So, exactly. I think, that was the other thing, because when you don't always have faith, you don't always, you be like, God, you don't even love me. Like, God, what? How many times I was like, God, you don't even love me? Do you even love me? Do you even see me? Do you even care? It was the other folks that had more faith than me. I didn't even have a mustard seed. They say all you need is a mustard seed. I didn't even have that. It was the people that had an extra mustard seed to give me that helped restore my faith, because I was like, nah, and I had friends pour into me. I had my church pour into me. I had random strangers that were pouring into me. And God was sending me people left and right. I'd be minding my business at the grocery store and somebody would come up to me and be like, you have such a beautiful glow about you. You just radiate positivity. God bless you. Or somebody, willing to give me a hug in a time where it was scary to give a hug, just embracing me and be like, I just feel like I should hug you, or is that okay? And I'm like, yeah, sure. It was those moments. It's like that Footprints poem, when you only see that one, oh man, when you only see that one set of footprints in the sand, that's when I carried you. It was those moments I had to be carried that really got me through it, because I couldn't have done it without all of that. I needed all of it. I needed all of those resources, and gathering all of those resources, having people that loved me, having people in my circle, having a healing circle is what helped me on my healing journey.
And these healing circles are super, super important to have your circle, your prayer circle, your sister circle, your family circle, just people just building these rings. These rings become fortress. They become your armor. So as you're going through this situation, you have your armor, not just your armor in physical, but armor in faith, which is so important. There's a poem that I wrote, and in one line I say, my breastplate is armored in faith. So my breastplate is armored in faith. And this is like you said, you work for it. You work for that faith, but even in the darkest of times, and even when you're most doubtful, this is when your armor comes out. And sometimes it's just your people just surrounding you as you walk through the fire. So
it became like apparent to me during this trial, number one, I'm a descendant of slaves. I'm a descendant of slaves that had to persevere through a lot. They somehow survived the cross and the crossover through the ocean and the transatlantic slave trade. They somehow survived slavery. I can find I know where the plantation is that my family grew up on, because my mother's family is named after it. While I am an Afro-Latina, I still know, at least on my mother's side, where I come from. And on my father's side, I know that, I'm from Italy, I'm from Cuba, but on my mother's side, I can trace back my lineage in America to the slaves where we lived. The area is still named Gaffney, South Carolina. That's my family name. And I say that to say, I come from a lineage of people that survived the worst thing ever. So I had to dig deep and think about my ancestors and think about what they pushed through, and knew that was my strength. That was my guiding light. So if I needed to be that strong to get through it. Sorry, my kids just walk through the whole thing.
This is real life. We call this real life. Listen, and no problem. There's no problem.
But yeah, that definitely was something that I had to think about, was where I came from, with my ancestors.
Got it. We got the doggy.
Yeah, she's loud.
It's okay. Because that part he can edit. It's no problem. But
okay.
Everything else, and don't worry about your daughter walking in the background.
Okay.
So we're gonna wait for him. But as we come to a close, I'm gonna ask you this. I always ask my guests, what are some words of wisdom that they would impart to themselves in their former life? So if we look back to the Sammy that once was, the Sammy that was a little girl and who's designing her dreams, knowing what you know now, what would you tell her?
Speak life into yourself. Love yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself, little girl. Little girl with the big dreams. They're real. They can happen. They can really, really happen. And it's not going to be easy. And you're going to go through some crap, like some pure, stinky, nasty crap. And you're going to have your heart broken. But keep going, little girl. And don't be so hard on yourself. You're beautiful. You're beautiful inside and out. You are loved more than you even could dream. And it's okay to be smart and beautiful. It's okay. Enjoy it. Enjoy both. Enjoy both. I would tell her that. I would tell her enjoy being smart, enjoy being beautiful, and maintain your humility and be a friend. Be a friend because people need it and you need it. Most importantly, you need it.
I love,
That's what I would tell her.
I love that. And I can totally see you talking to her and her little pigtails. Just like, I
Our
love it.
little bobos, yeah.
Yeah, Bubba. Bubba and ribbons.
I would
Sam,
definitely tell her that.
I appreciate you coming here. You are not, this is not going to be the last time because I definitely want to talk about young professionals and what
Okay.
we do as a community to get involved in our local government, because I believe that's where true power lies. And this is where we can really affect change. Before
Right.
the next presidential election, you can make so many changes in your local community. So I definitely want to have you back on
Okay.
and talk about that and what that means and what it looks like, because I don't think a lot of us understand that.
Yeah, no. I didn't even until now.
Okay? And it's really important that people understand that. But again, I thank you for coming on and just opening your experience, your life, and just being laid bare. Um,
Thank you.
I really appreciate that, and I know that this message is going to it's going to impact so many other people who are going through this right now, and they would have heard your words of wisdom, the resources that are out there, and just to know that they have a support system and they're not alone. They're not alone at all. So thank you so much for
Thank
coming on
you.
the show.
Thank you for having me. It's been an awesome, awesome time with you.
Thank you. So, fam, I want to thank you for joining Sam and I hope that this story, whoever needed to hear it, whoever needed to understand it, this was for you. This was meant for you. And whatever strength you gain from it, take it, bottle it up, get your people, find your tribe, get the resources, and as Sam said, get out. You are loved. You are loved more than you know. You are important. You matter. You have a dream within you that is meant to be shared with the world. And right now, you are in a situation that is taking your light and dimming it. And we need you. So we need you to come out of it because we need you. So, fam, be bigger, be fitter, be stronger. As always, be good to you because this temple is one of the most precious things on this earth. So, take care of it, take care of you, and see you next time.